Back again to put on a happy face. Ken Tamplin, Vocal Academy here, guys, and good to see you again on this Saturday morning. I got some snow outside of my place here. I'm in Flagstaff, Arizona. We got some deer coming up, munching on some of my apples and almonds that I feed them. But I want to say welcome. I want to do a shout out to all my faithful guys that ring the bell. Thanks you guys for doing that, and so you get notified right away. We have a pretty controversial subject today. And it's kind of volatile, and there's a lot of difference of opinion on it. It's distortion, and we're going to go into details of this in a minute. But before we get to that, I'm going to talk about safe distortion. But I want to do a couple of shout-outs and answer a couple of the questions from what we missed out from last week. So Cheryl from Kentucky says, "Thanks for your course. It's a true steal. I'm recording in my studio on my original music and with a great producer. Thanks!" Exclamation point. Well, you're welcome, Cheryl. And if you keep doing it, it'll seriously, continue to rock your voice. So I'm glad that it's working out for you. Let's see, Ashley. So basically, those who use twang well use open throat to get the sound out and keep a healthy range. No, actually the opposite, Ashley. Twang closes down the throat. It doesn't open up the throat. So no, I don't subscribe to juxtaposing twang to open throat. They're two very different things. I teach open throat. I'm not saying that twang can't be used for certain circumstances and certain applications, but I will say that it is not open throat. So no, that's not correct. Please go back to the twang webinar and you'll hear a description of how I point that out. Noor, what is the difference between mask and NG resonance? Well, there's lots, but I don't have the time to answer all of that question. But mask is the concept of bringing sound. And by the way, the word resonance is a little deceiving because you don't resonate in the face necessarily. That's not an appropriate way of describing it, because the chords resonate and then you can hit pockets in the face that can bring the sound forward. So NG is and it's a very constricted sound, and it's a sound that we don't want to embed in our throat because even though I know it's used for determining vocal fog, I know that's used to determine whether you have nodes, I know it's used to determine vocal ranges at certain timbers and ranges for certain what's the word I'm looking for, Ken? I just watched my brain, I can't do a thing with it. Anyway, different vocal types, I meant to say, sorry. But the most important part about it is when you think of mask, I want you to think of you can use open throat technique and not have to close down the throat to get the NG sound, because the NG can be very constricting. NG is good for cleaning off the chords for mucus and things like that too. So I'm not trying to say don't use it at all. I'm just saying we don't want to embed that in our throats because we want to get out of that and use contiguous phrase singing for open throat technique. Rich, after doing my vocal exercises, I'm getting a little hoarse. I think I'm doing something wrong, right? I think maybe diaphragmatic support. It seems so easy to achieve, but not. Any tips? Well, Rich, I don't know if you're doing the course or you're just doing some of the tips I put on YouTube. Please go to our singing forums and post what you're doing, because it sounds to me like you're using too much air. So it could be support as well, that's for certain, but you absolutely do not want to go hoarse. You can, sometimes if you sing a lot, you can get a little sore, and I don't mean like sore throat sore, but I mean, like you're working out at a gym. But you should never go hoarse. You should be the opposite. You should find more and more strength in the sound, not less and less. Kind of like what you saw in the last video what I did with Katie Shearer, where she said she's getting stronger and stronger. So here's some shout outs. Cassie, hello there. We got Zinc. Hello, Zinc. James Crawshaw. Good evening from the UK. Canal Novo Home. Hello, I'm from Brazil. Milos. Don't know if I can pronounce that last part. Wyatt Birdwell from Las Vegas. Harry Elliott from Shay Kane is amazing. Whoever Shay Kane is. Adrian, shout out. Dylan, Pierce. Hey, you may not remember me, but you helped a lot. Awesome, Dylan. I'm grateful for that. We've got Tan Min. I'm assuming you're from somewhere in Asia, obviously with the last little caricatures. And just a lot of really cool people, guys. Roxana from UK, Abigail, Texas, I mean, on and on and on. So with that said, guys, I want to get started because, again, there's a lot to cover here. I got Mexico, Nashville. Awesome. Let's talk about voice cracking. By the way, Jeremiah, you said, how do I stop voice cracking? I have a whole video on that. You might want to get my course. I think it might help you. Or not might, it will help you to do that. But guys, I want to talk about a dangerous trend that's been developing since the early 90s in the world of singing. And that trend goes by many names. It's fry, it's scream or screamo or scrams or growl or death metal vocals or thrash or black metal. There's a lot of titles for this stuff. It kind of boils down to the same thing. And there are many aspects of scream that people don't understand, okay? Now, I chose to go to WikiHow because it gave me a really good, simple, though I know there's a lot of variations from this, but a really good, simple way to describe how people think that they get to growl or get to scream and whatever. And I want to break this down a step at a time because there's some really bad information here, guys. And here we have WikiHow. Someone posted this. And then all of a sudden it becomes gospel, and I've seen this posted a lot in very similar forms and fashions, okay? First thing, if you go to WikiHow and you say, you know, how do I do screamo, or how do I do, you know, growl or whatever, the first thing it says, breathe from your diaphragm. I'm going to read this verbatim so we can break this down, okay? Breathe from your diaphragm, sit with your back straight, and just hum your normal voice and with your mouth closed. Put your hand on your stomach just below your ribs and hum a few times with short bursts. So in other words, you know, it'd be something like this. Hum, right? Well, nothing wrong with that. Hey, nothing wrong with that. If you're trying to learn how to do that, I go through a whole thing in my singing course, How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else, how to get people to truly understand that. Now, just because the stomach is protruding in and out doesn't mean that I have strength in the sound. So let's be clear on that. Just because my stomach comes in and out, so just because I go, let's do it sideways here. Right? I want, hey, hey, hey. I want to know that I'm actually really, truly getting the power that I'm looking for from the diaphragm. So that's the first thing. So when humming, one automatically uses the diaphragm and abdominal muscles. Well, that isn't true. You can actually barely use your diaphragm. Okay, let's talk about the diaphragm. The diaphragm is the main support mechanism for respiratory response. So yes, of course, anytime you take a breath, the diaphragm's involved. However, it doesn't mean you're getting strength out of the diaphragm to complete the task you're looking to do, okay? So let's be clear on what these little, you know, someone just posts something and it's supposed to be gospel. One automatically uses the diaphragm and abdominal muscles, so you should feel your abdomen goes in while your chest and shoulders aren't moving. That's called rib cage expansion. I discussed that in my course. Breathe from that spot when you want to growl, okay? What do you mean breathe from that spot? What spot? You know, what is that supposed to mean? I don't know. I'm a seasoned professional, and I don't understand that. So, you know, maybe you're a better man than I am, woman than I am. Put your hand on your abdomen and hum with your mouth closed. Gradually increase the volume. Feel how your abs are shrinking towards the inside. Okay, if we're talking about just straight up diaphragmatic support, we've talked about this before. It's kind of the sensation like you're going number 2. I hate to put it that way, but it's a pushing down sensation. So you breathe in from the abdomen, from the stomach, and then you push out like you're going to the bathroom, okay? It's a crass analogy, but it really is, the visual of it is maybe not so great, but it does work. Gradually increase the volume. Feel how your abs are shrinking towards the inside. This means that your diaphragm is relaxing and pushing air out. That's where the sound should be coming from. Well, no, that's not true, because you could actually, right now, I could constrict air and I could actually have I'm going, hey, 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 and I'm not really using my stomach to push air. So that's not quite true. Pinch your throat. Oh my gosh. Pinch your throat. I'm gonna squeeze off my throat, pinch my throat. Right? There's a gal I took vocal lessons from a long time ago. And by the way, I've taken from a lot of different coaches and had to really try to figure this stuff out. And her name was Elizabeth Sabine. I don't even mind telling you who she is in LA. And the very first day I went to her, you know, she claimed to teach Axel Rose and all these people. And we find out later that everyone claims everybody, if they've taken a lesson from somebody, then they claim their, you know, success. But anyway, so she had put this video on about crying like a baby. Now, we talked about this before. I don't want to belabor this, but and then she was one of the originators of vocal fry, and she'd say, go, if you want to relax the chords, go, and if you want to lean into a sound to get distortion, go, and you start to lean into a pinched and squeezed sound, which is exactly the opposite of what you want to do for good vocal health. So let's go back to what it says here. It says, by the way, this is WikiHow. This isn't like you know, Joe Blow and the Schmo. It's, you know, pinch your throat, open your jaw, and make an O shape with your lips. Oh, pull your tongue back into the back of your throat. No, you don't. You drop the tongue. You want to create space in the back of the throat. Crazy. Whoever puts this stuff up, whatever. By the way, I'd love to see this person sing, you know, because I want to talk about the singing and the growl part and how they need to work together, okay? The lighter you pinch the back of your throat, the higher the pitch of the growl will be. That's actually true because you're going to release and relax the false vocal folds and they'll resonate higher. Move your tongue forward slightly and loosen the pinch, and your growl will be a little lower. So, right? So, okay, this is just crazy, but this is WikiHow, guys. Okay, and then it says try letting a little air out. It should rattle a little at the back of the throat without really having to make much sound at all. Rattling is a sign that you've got the right shape. Guys, we want to create maximum space in the back of the throat. This is what singing is all about. And for those of you out there that are only interested in growl, do whatever you think you're going to do. You're going to lose your voice in a few years. I'm sorry to tell you that. Better men have tried and failed. In fact, it's a bummer because Matt Sanders, for example, or you probably know him as M. Shadows, you know, he has been losing his voice, canceling tours and all this stuff, right? And if you notice, and Corey Taylor's was the same way, and there's quite a few guys like that, where they had a certain technique that they used, but they lost all freedom in their ability to sing. Even though they could kind of lean into a sound and do their growl stuff or scream stuff or whatever, when it came time to sing clean, they didn't have agility in the chords to be able to pull it off. That's because of this pinching and squeezing I'm talking about, rather than starting with open throat technique. And we're going to get into how we do it with open throat in a minute, but I just want to break this down, as this is sort of like the gold standard of how people are learning how to do this stuff. Anyway, exhale forcefully. What? What did you just say? Exhale forcefully. You guys remember in my course, that even hurt just now. Do you guys remember in my course and other videos that I have where I say the overuse of air is the arch enemy to the vocal folds? I really want you to think about this. Think about shouting at a baseball game or football game or soccer game, taking a flamethrower of air across your vocal folds. You don't think they're not going to dry out? Let's remember what the folds are. They're sinews of collagen. They need moisture to keep them to be resilient, like a rubber band. If you remove the moisture, the more you remove that, you get dysphonia and you lose good cord closure. When that happens, you have to force even more air across the cord. The cricoretinoid and the retinoid muscle structure has to pull the bands together tighter, even tighter still, to ram even more air across the cord to get phonation, which is sound. And dysphonia means you don't get sound. So anyway, so guys, let's be clear on this. No, absolutely not. You do not exhale forcefully but evenly. Practice breathing deep into your diaphragm and positioning your throat correctly. Well, what does that mean? You didn't tell me how to do it. You're just saying to do it? Okay, good for you. So glad. I want to hear this guy sing, whoever wrote this. Then try exhaling a few times. Get a good amount of sound from your throat. What does that mean? You should hear a good low growl that sounds good for animal impressions and metal songs alike. Now, Bob, I've got my assistant Bob here. Bob, I actually have a student. I have a lot of students that do this, but I have one in particular, and her name's Lauren Hart. She's actually a guest singer for the band KAMELOT. And I didn't train her for distortion. She did that on her own, and she's going to explain it. And Bob, if you could put the Facebook video that she just recently posted on her Facebook, you could put that in the description tag so people can actually check this out. I was actually there to help her get the gig for KAMELOT to teach her how to sing, because she was having a tough time being able to go from this growl sound into a clean tone. So do you guys remember me saying that whenever we sing with distortion, we always have to come back and clean up the voice to get a clean sound that's non-distorted, to put resiliency and all the agility and all the things back in the moisture in the chords, to get and again, our best to not get polyps or nodes and all the things that go along with that. So anyway, I'm going to continue on with this, and then I'm going to get to the goods on what we really need to do. Draw out the growl for a few seconds and let it trail off. Practice bringing the volume up and down and changing the pitch slightly. It'll take a little practice. Keep your hand on your stomach to make sure you're breathing as deeply as possible and pushing as much air from the deep of your diaphragm. Wrong. We don't do that. We actually control our air. It's very important. Practice growling nonsense syllables to help you channel your throat sound into something like that's like music. It's important to practice forming syllables and changing pitch. The following syllables are good to practice in your routine, forming them as evenly, as smoothly as possible. Then they put yo, we, ah, and ra. You know, yo, we, ah, ra. Right? Okay, Bob, can you do me a favor too? When you get a chance, in the description tag, I want you to post all of the distortion videos that I have out. Compression, distortion, you know, I think there's 3 or 4 of them out. I want you to hear the difference of the roundness of the sound and how I'm able to go in and out of doing a distorted sound back to a clean sound, back to a melodic sound, and not be relegated to this form of growl. Now, what Lauren pointed out for how she learned it was she said she would, you know, growl or bark like a dog, and she would do this over and over again. Well, I'm going to tell you what, guys, if you force that much air across the cord over time, you are asking for trouble. I'm telling you straight up. And it's really weird because we are living in an age where a lot of people don't care so much about learning how to sing because growl is so much easier. They can go in and go, right? And then all of a sudden that's supposed to be singing or something. I don't know. But I would hope we'd want both. If you're going to do growl, you'd still want to learn how to sing. Anyway, don't chop off the ends. Yeah, we've talked about this. This is contiguous phrase singing because that is true. If you have a glottal stop and all of a sudden you're closing down the back of the throat and then you're slamming it, hitting it with more air, closing it down, slamming it, hitting it with more air, you're going to find that you're going to lose your voice pretty doggone quick doing that. Oh, and by the way, I have to mention this. I have to fix more voices than you guys can possibly imagine. And I can't tell you how many people have lost their voice doing this. And I mean almost complete dysphonia. Like, I don't know, 1 minute I heard a popping sound and then I couldn't even talk, right? We don't want that, guys. We want to do something healthy for our voice, and we can get to certain things that can give us the desired effect, but we've got to do it the right way, okay? And practice changing the pitch, blah, blah, blah. Overall, you know, they go into, you know, different styles and the throat and the tongue and this and that, pushing the tongue in the back of the throat. Over time, guys, this will develop nodes. It will. You're on a fast track to do that. And so I want to be clear on that. This is the most extreme kind of glottal pressure that you can put on your vocal folds. Okay, the glottis, that's the little, you know, when the cords close. And to exude that much air forcefully across the cords is extremely dangerous, like I said. We want to do the exact opposite, okay? So we want the cords in a relaxed state while mitigating or controlling the air. So if you look at my videos, you're going to notice that when I go, let's use the, go to the, Bob, also if you could put the Chris Cornell, James Bond soundtrack one where I do it, the scream at the end. Listen to how I go from an open throat sound and then I relax through false vocal folds here. I relax into a sound, keeping the open throat technique to where I'm not pinching and squeezing and clamping down and choking off the cords. I'm allowing them to rattle, right, in a safe way. Now, some people would claim, well, this is a form of fry. Well, it is and it isn't. I'm not going, I'm going, hey! And I'm actually, I have an open throat technique, but I want to talk to you about the stages that's required to get to that technique so that you guys can do this safely, okay? So, anyway, let's see here. Okay, we're going to talk about maturation over time because I'm gonna lose my notes now and I'm just going to go straight to. We have several ways that we can approach this, and the first way is that I want you guys to be willing to go down this journey with me. Okay, we have to understand how the chords work themselves first, how to keep good vocal clarity and health in the chords themselves. So we have to first start by singing clean. We don't go straight to distortion. Please, guys, trust me on this, okay? We don't go straight to distortion. So let's say we're just doing a simple la, like do this with me. La, la, ha, ha, right? Now let's say we're going, yeah! what we can do is, little by little, we can create distortion over time. And I don't know if, did we just lose everybody? I lost some notes here. I think I might have accidentally exited out something. But when I was getting out of my notes, we want to take a clean sound first and develop it. And we do that with pure vowel sound. So, la, la, oh, oh, ooh, right? We want to start with this first, okay? Let's get the chords working. Let's get them stretching correctly. Let's get some moisture in there, right? What's that? Okay, we want to get. Sorry, I've got my assistant was telling me some notes here. We want to have this clean sound that we want to develop first. Now this sound maturates over time, and we create. By the way, someone asked me about subharmonic distortion too. I'll try to cover that in another webinar because that's a different animal. But we want to create a harmonic structure, a distortion, harmonic distortion structure that happens safely over time. I know I've used this example before, but I want to use it again. If you listen to early recordings of, let's say, Aretha Franklin, okay, God rest her recent soul, and you listen to later recordings, you hear this whiskey, smoky, woodsy sort of sound later in life that she didn't have when she was younger, but she was singing correctly. Okay, she was singing correctly. You can hear this true in like Whitney Houston and a lot of famous singers that have had this happen, even Jennifer Hudson. So as you listen to this sound, now people will say, well, what about Janis Joplin or whatever? And it's ironic that I just released another Janis Joplin piece. Yeah, well, that's street singing that just comes out and goes, bah! And they just, they're just like Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen. Born in the USA, I was born, right? But if you listen to his voice now, he's lost almost total control of his voice. Like I said, this has happened with Matt Shadows. This has happened with Corey Taylor. This has happened with a lot of people that just strain and pinch and close off the chords like that. So I want to be clear. So we start, and I cover all this in my singing course, guys. So we just, alam, alam. We want to start there, and we want to warm up clean. Then, little by little, we go, hey, hey, hey. Notice my tongue, is dropped to the base of the jaw, and I'm opening my throat. I'm not going, and I'm not forcing air. So now let's talk about the mitigation of air, because I promised that we're going to talk about this. Then I'm going to open it up for some questions, because I think that you guys probably have a lot of questions on this. The mitigation of air can happen in a lot of places. There's the sphincter muscle, there's the glottis, there's all kinds of places we can actually control and mitigate air. What we really want to do is we want to develop the throat to stay open first so that we're not pinching and squeezing. Otherwise, what's the difference than straining when you sing? There is no difference. All you're doing is doing that and adding more air, right? So we train the throat to stay open with good open throat vowels, excuse me, and we do ah, e, o, and u, and we go through a series of scales and stuff through the spectrum of our voice, the total range of our voice, and we train this clean first. Then, little by little, if we want, we could lean into a sound. Yen, 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 hey, yeah, 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 right? And we can actually lean in. But by the way, notice too, my voice still is really crystal clear. I'm not hoarse. I'm not doing anything weird, because what I'm doing is I'm literally holding my breath. I'm doing exactly the opposite of what that article said. I'm holding my breath. Yeah, yeah, right? And I'm compressing the air at different levels, and I don't have time to go through all the details of this, but I'm compressing the air at different levels. Now, what we really want is great vocal tone to begin with. We're not looking just to only distort the voice. I know it's just, we're talking about distortion, but it's how do we get there safely? So over time, if you sing a lot correctly, over time you're going to notice that smoky, woodsy, whiskey sort of kind of sound that comes into the voice. Well, what we do is, if we've trained open throat technique with the open vowels, we can lean into that sound with a little more volume while compressing the air, and then that will actually give us this tone that we're looking for and the ability to get into good, strong open throat technique. So with that said, I want to do some questions, guys. Do we have some questions up for this? And are we still live? Because I see a lot of scrambling on my screen of other stuff here. Guys, are we still live?
Yeah, you're live.
Okay. Anyway, so there was some off-topic questions on distortion. Eduardo, what is the difference between the distorted sound produced with glottal compression and that produced with a soft palate? Well, okay, those are two different things. And the first thing is that the soft palate doesn't actually create distortion. We distort air at the glottis. That's the last in the food chain of distorting air at the glottis. But we want to raise the soft palate. We don't want to clamp down and close the soft palate. We have the soft palate and uvula to rise for good open throat technique first, and then we're going to, lean into that sound. Gleb Blavatsky, what do you think about Melissa Cross' Screaming Zen method? Well, I'm going to let Melissa be Melissa, and I'm going to let me be me. We teach very different things, so I'm going to let people go ahead and if they want to go to Melissa, if they like the way Melissa sings, I know she teaches a lot of people scream and distortion. Let her do what she does. I'm telling you what I know to be true about singing, and that is if you don't do what I'm telling you, there's a 80 to 90% chance that you're going to get a note or you're going to lose your voice over time, and it will inhibit your ability for the flexibility and freedom to sing clean or sing well or sing at all. So, Bogto, I want to sing with overdrive. Distortion is too heavy for me. Well, they're kind of one and the same. Again, that's another term, overdrive. We had all these different terms. Think about this, guys. It's not like there's 20 different ways to do this. There's a couple different ways. There's the clamping, closing down, fry sort of camp, let's call it, and then there's the open throat camp. Now, if you listen to Ronnie James Dio, or if you listen to any singer like that that has a really great command of distortion with open throat, you can determine whether or not I want that kind of distortion, or all I want to do is scream and maybe never be able to sing any really great songs or note values of songs themselves. So let's go on from there. Next one is distortion is louder than clean singing. No, actually, that's not true. Resonance, let's just talk about resonance. Resonance is the concept that when you have really good chord closure and you relax into a state of oscillation, we've talked about vibrato before, what happens is the chords resonate, and they can resonate clean, loud, or they can resonate distortion, loud. But especially when we're distressing the chords, and that's exactly what we're doing, we really don't want distortion to be that loud. If you listen to some of my, the stuff that I've sung in a few of my videos, you'll notice that I'm kind of deceiving you a little bit. I'm making you think that I'm singing a lot louder than I really am, because I'm compressing the air. But because resonance is taking over, it's got this big, round, harmonic, distorted sound, and so all of a sudden it sounds bigger than, like a roaring lion, when in fact I'm using very little air pressure at all as far as how much air I'm allowing to pass across the chord, and I'm certainly not forcing air like that article suggested. So Bogto says, when we distorted the voice, do we need to support more? Yes, absolutely. That's a good question, man. Because if you don't, the more sound pressure we're looking to put into the folds themselves, the more strength in the abdomen we need. So absolutely yes. Now, are there times we would sing clean with still needing a tremendous amount of support? Absolutely. The higher up we go, the more we need to support, right? And the more we need a relaxation response. So, and when you hear me do the Chris Cornell tune, the James Bond soundtrack theme, you're going to notice I actually relax the folds, and I'm actually using air to cutting back the air, and the rattling sound, I'm allowing it just to get distorted and rattle without the use, and it sounds like I'm killing myself. It sounds like it's my last dying note, but it's really not. I actually can do that and do it for long periods of time because of the way I can relax the false vocal folds and relax the chords themselves to get into that sound. So next one is Nicholas. I learned stuff from Melissa, and it ruined my voice for a while. Can you please talk about how to sound hoarse when singing? I don't know if that's two different people. That looks like two different questions. Anyway, Nicholas, yeah, again, I'm going to let Melissa be Melissa. I'm going to tell you straight up that compressing the sphincter muscle, compressing the esophagus, compressing the throat, putting the tongue in the back of the throat, trying to use the soft palate to close down to get sounds, fry and all of that is not a great way to go for singing. That's my opinion. That's, you know, I sing. I don't know if I've ever even heard her sing, but anyway, that's what I know. I know she works with a lot of people, and some people swear by it, some people swear at it. I'm just going to be neutral on it and say I'm going to teach what Ken Tamplin teaches. I'm going to let her teach what she teaches. So anyway, guys, this isn't going to be some huge long thing on distortion today, because Bob, if you'd please be so good. Again, I've covered this a lot. I want to have Bob post in the descriptions the Lauren Hart thing, the different videos that I have on distortion. Bob, please include the James Bond soundtrack, and then you'll see I walk you through this stuff step by step, how to get to this, and I cover all this stuff in my singing course, how to sing better than anyone else, guys. So if you really want to take this seriously, I recommend that you get that. Cam Lane says, if I were to want to sing rock or power metal, would I still be able to sing softer things in operas or even opera as well? Absolutely, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I said, to come back and clean up the voice. So if you look at the spectrum and the different, you know, colors of different sounds and stuff that I've done, go through our YouTube channel and check out all the different variations of singing that I've done. I always come back to clean up the voice, because if you don't, you'll forever sentence yourself to a distorted sound, and we don't want that. Milos, can anyone become a singer, or is it just talent? Milos, if you go to KenTamplinVocalAcademy.com, click on Ed Sheeran's video that's on my homepage, and I think Ed Sheeran says it best. You know, he exposes himself for how lousy he was as a singer before on a TV show, and then, you know, and I'm not saying he's the ultimate, you know, singer, but he does a pretty good job. He's owning the world right now. So absolutely, you can train your voice to become a singer. You don't just have to only have talent. If you can sing Happy Birthday, you can train your voice to sing. Silja, I have pain when singing high notes with chest voice. What exercises should help me? Well, Silja, I hope I said your name right. We go back to the open throat technique thing again. Now, as we ascend a scale, first of all, we need good abdominal strength and support, right? We want good diaphragmatic support. As we ascend to scale, we close down our vowel sounds so they don't splat or become top-heavy and become so big that they get away from us to where we can't control the sound. So in my course, I cover all this, where you train the voice with different vowel sounds in different configurations of different scales in order to have agility in the folds themselves with a lot of strength. So you've got to learn first how to get strength in the sound. You've got to learn second how to have a relaxation response in the throat. And then third, you've got to learn how to get these vowel modifications to work for you so that you don't have pain in your throat, because it sounds like you're pinching and squeezing and clamping down. In fact, it sounds like you're doing what this article says to do for fry, which we don't want. Autopsy of Society. Can you try growling? Yeah, I'm not going to do that at 10 o'clock in the morning right now, but what I'll show you is I'm not a big fan of growl. So like I said, Lauren, if you like that, check out the video that I asked Bob to post on with Lauren Hart. I do get to the point of, you know, the Barbara O'Reilly scream and those kinds of things where it's a sound that I like, but I just don't care for growl myself, and I hope that's not blowing people's minds. To me, it's there's nothing that musical about it, and a lot of people do it, and it's just kind of like, again, you're going to hate me for saying this, but I have to say it. It's like rap to me. It's like, I'm just not a big fan of rap. You know, I like singing. I like singing with good tone. I like singing with range. I like singing with distortion when it matters. But when it comes to actual growl, it's just not my thing. I don't love it. Though I understand how to get there, I don't. It's not what I like. Anyway, but thank you for asking. Vitor Silva, what's the difference between distortion and screamo? Well, there is variations and stages of that. Like I just mentioned, there's one camp of who does, you know, growl and how they get to growl, and there's another camp of getting distortion that can actually go into screamo or growl, and you can get there safely if you do what I just said to do. Check out my videos on this. Look in the description tag. We'll put this up in just a minute. Thank you for the question, Vitor. Next one. Jerry, I can sing on pitch pretty well, and my tone isn't bad either, but suck at falsetto. Any advice? Well, tell you what. Let me... we did a whole video on head voice. So, Jerry, if you could do me a favor, refer to that video that I put out. In fact, we did a whole webinar on it. So refer to that YouTube live stream on head voice, because I cover falsetto and head voice in it, and that will really help you, give you a better command. And again, I have a whole entire section in my singing course on falsetto / head voice. So Steve Addison, Ken, I went from zero singing ability to sing in 2 operas after doing my course. Nice, Steve. That's good to hear. Hey, post something in our forum so we can see, everyone can hear how you're doing, and we can all enjoy it together. That'd be really cool. Akash, I'm from India. Can you please say how to get a rock artist voice, please? Yeah, well, Akash, again, I cover this in my course. You don't just go to a rock voice. You go to a good voice, and then you can lean into the sound to get more power and a little more distortion and so forth in the tone. And again, everyone, what is rock? Rock to you might be something different to me. So I'm not sure how heavy you're talking about. But Akash, if you want to go into our singer forums, post your voice right now, and then we can take a listen and see how you're doing and try to help you get there. Carl Johan, Screamo is a genre. They use fry screaming a lot, though, sometimes with false chords, distortion, and arytenoid distortion, too. That's right. That's true. Carl? Yeah, that's true, Carl. That's correct. Muhammad says, which voice is used for most singing? What do you mean by which voice? A good, clean sound. Bel canto, taking a beautiful sound and understanding how to work your voice clean first, and then you can shift that into other styles for singing. So motivation for you all, staccato exercises bad? They serve a purpose, actually. We want open throat technique. So let's say we're going to right, and we're doing like these staccato exercises. What that does is it helps me have a better command of my breathing, number one. Number two, it helps me understand that if I have to keep the throat open, I can throw in little tiny H's to do that rather than and close off the throat to do it, because we want to, again, maintain as much as open throat contiguous phrase singing as possible. Alan, why is it harder to sing distortion in higher notes? Well, actually, it isn't. Most people default to that as a pinched, squeezed street sort of singing mechanism to get to higher notes. So they're pinching and squeezing, rather than hey, rather than getting a nice open throat sound. So you want to, again, train the throat to stay open in order to get to those sounds, and then we can start to lean into it to get the distortion. Autopsy of Society says, thanks for the answer. Also, one more question. When I try to yell with distortion on a very high note, it starts to tickle my throat. Like Ollie Sykes. Yeah, okay, so that's because of the way you're compressing air and you haven't built up the strength for the open throat technique we're talking about. So what you're doing is you're feeling it down here, and you're feeling it, it's almost like a gag response or a tickling gag response in the throat. So what you want to do is you want to train the throat to stay open. I'll say it again. And then you want to be able to gently lean into that sound, and then more and more and more you can add more weight or more distorted weight to that sound. Let's see here. What kind of singing techniques should you focus on to achieve similar to the powerhouse vocalists of the Seattle grunge scene like Lane Staley or Chris Cornell? Okay, well, those are two very different voices, okay? Chris actually studied with the same coach I studied with. I studied with one coach for 10 years, and Chris went on to study with him for like 15 or 20 years. Lane really didn't. He had his own completely different thing. Now, I want to say something about both these artists. They both had an amazing tone. Chris had way more range than Lane Staley did, and way more staying power. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the live performances. Chris used open throat technique. Okay, now here's a weird part to that, because when you talk about the Seattle bands, so way back when Eddie Vedder sort of coined the idea of closing down the mouth, or everything kind of sounded like this. So like let's take Like a Stone that Cornell did, right? Right, everything's really closed. It's very hard to open up a sound that's closed like that as you go up top. That's why when we talked about mask and stuff, where I want to bring in a much more open, hey na 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 da na 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 na, we want to open up that sound, and so the higher we go, then we gently close down to the vowel modifications I'm talking about that I have in my singing course in order to be able to get more range. Lane Staley was more like just brute force, hey! And he would just stick it and kill it, Jamaica, you'd have this just like a muscle car versus a Porsche or something, where you just throw down. But he didn't have much range, and he couldn't hold on to it for very long. After 6 or 7 songs, he was kind of done. So again, if you build up good muscle memory and good strength in the sound, you can be more like Chris and maintain a really, a 90-minute set of singing really hard stuff. So anyway, Panos Kalafis. What Aerosmith's singer does scream or something different? Again, there's a lot of street singers out there that can get away with a lot of stuff. And it's like winning the lottery. They're few and far between, but they're out there. His is definitely a pinched squeeze sound. He's Steven Tyler, and he's been able to get away with some stuff for a long time. But let's remember that he just went through a major throat surgery in fact, a friend of mine is an otolaryngologist who just, kind of gave him back his voice. He's got kind of a god complex too. But anyway, and so we see guys like this losing their voice all the time, including Adele, including, even Lionel Richie. I mean, guys that you wouldn't think that would lose their voice. I've gone through, Steven Zeitels has given them their surgery. This is, and you could go even to R&B guys that do this because they don't understand how to control and mitigate air and keep the throat open. So anyway, hopefully that answers that. Andreas, whoops, that went fast. Hold on. Whoa, my thing's going nuts here. Hold on. Give me a second here, guys. I'm going to get back to where I was. I'm looking for Andreas here. Give me one more second. Sorry about this. Here we go. Andreas, what is your opinion of men singing in the whistle register? Is it healthy? No, actually, the whistle register, the flageolet register, is not healthy at all. Again, that's actually, when you hear David Lee Roth go, like that kind of funky scream where it almost sounds like 2 or 3 tones going off. Well, that's kind of part of the whistle register. Now, we heard Mariah Carey do this a lot and other singers like it. What you're doing is you're actually forcing a lot of air up top in a way that is literally splitting open the chords to create multiple harmonic structure in the folds themselves. So it creates another, not subharmonic structure, but what's it called? Analytic harmonic structure, a structure that's above the tone. And so when that happens, you're actually forcing the chords to not have good chord closure. And over time, it can and probably will cost you your voice, like it did cost unfortunately Mariah, and like it did cost a lot of David Lee Roth's register and different people like that. So I don't recommend the whistle register. It's fun for some things, but it's a parlor trick. Let's call it that, to be healthy about it. Let's see. Wyatt says, singers are best for learning lower register singing. I'm not sure that question, but how about if you just sing in your registration? It's called your vocal FOC and also the tessitura, which is the sweet spot of your range. And then we can increase that from there to get you where you want to be as a singer. Gleb, hello Ken, I'm a tenor. Can you recommend 5 rock songs for beginners? Okay, well, I'm not sure what you like. So tell you what, Gleb, let's do this. Instead of me doing that here and now, I would love to, I'm an old school guy, and of course I'm going to tell you I like Coverdale, Whitesnake. I'm going to tell you that I like Paul Rogers and Bad Company. I'm going to tell you that I like Lou Gramm. I love Lou Gramm. I'm going to tell you I like Mickey Thomas. I'm going to tell you that I like, some of this Dio stuff. So just look up those artists for me that I like personally. I like Cornell. Cornell's great. Look up some of those artists and peruse through some of their music and see what songs resonate with you and what you like, because you really want to have inspiration to want to learn how to sing like certain singers, and not just me cherry picking certain things and force feeding them down your throat. Okay. Hi Ken. Let's see here. This thing keeps jumping around. I'm not sure why. Hi Ken. Sean from Ireland. I have a small tray egalitarian. Can I still be a singer? Please, love you. I don't know what you mean by that. Can you please rewrite the question? I have a small tray egalitarian. You mean that that it's actually that closed, or that did you get any surgery, or was there something that happened to you? So please rephrase the question with a little more information. That would be helpful. And you could post that in the singers forums too. That would be even better. So let's see here. Why is Steven Tyler still singing like a young god while John Bon Jovi and Axl Rose lost their voices? Well, like I said, Steven Tyler just went through surgery. Before surgery, Steven had completely lost his voice. So Steven Zeitels, who's the otolaryngologist I was talking about, is in Boston, actually lasered his cords and cut off the nodes that he had so that he can go back to singing. So Stephen was on the path of John. Now John doesn't work his voice that I know of really at all. So again, as we age, we need to remember that we lose moisture and we lose agility and we lose elasticity in our chords. So we need to work those things just like exercising anything in order to be able to maintain good vocal health and chord closure. Same thing with Axel, and by the way, he's come in and out. I mean, there were some times that he came back strong and then he lost it again. He came back strong. And he actually also works with the same vocal coach I worked with for over a decade. So hopefully he'll be willing to, spend the time on his vocal health. Joseph, do you like Trans-Siberian Orchestra and the vocals they have? Well, actually, of course, yeah, they're friends of mine, almost all of them, or not all, but all the people that, orchestrate it. As you know, one of my students, Gabriela Gunchikova, was one of their main vocalists for a couple of years, and I actually just submitted someone just day before yesterday. It looks like she might get the gig too. So, yeah, they have top-notch, talented people. I mean, it's crazy, especially their instrumentalists are just, wow, over the top. Joel Hoekstra, I mean, crazy, amazing musicians. So Jeff Scott Soto, all kinds of guys. So Harry, I just got the raspy sound a few days ago, days before Ken. Can you suggest to me how to develop it more? I'm not able to do it for all the vowels for now, and I am a melody singer, by the way. Well, Harry, yeah, so start with the vowels and get good vowels first going. And then once you have the vowels, you can actually start to kind of push into that sound a little bit more. And I'm glad you brought that up, Harry, because we were just talking about twang a minute ago. Within twang, it's very constricting, and they don't open up all the vowel sounds. It's more of an EH sound, like a siren or like a quacking sort of sound, kind of sound. And I have a saying, and the saying is all vowel sounds stem from it's the la, ah, a nice open throat sound, except for E and oo. Now, oo is actually part of the ah family of vowels, but you have a transitional vowel in the middle, which is o. So ah, o, oo. So hello, hello, right? We have to get to oo using o as the intermediate vowel from the ah sound. But if you can master the ah vowel, and then you can lean into that ah vowel, start with that vowel alone first, and then go to ah, and then go to or a, and then go to e, and then go to o, and then go to oo, you're going to find you're going to be able to cover all the vowel structures with a little bit of distortion and add it slowly, carefully as you go along. Land of Dracula, Transylvania. Ken, what would you recommend to us? A good bel canto opera teacher or a teacher that sings rock with bands? Well, probably both. I actually do both. I would recommend you find a teacher that sings great, period, first. Bel canto, to me, is sort of the holy grail of the foundation for great singing. But bel canto falls really short in opening up sounds and then also adding additional tones. So if you're in Transylvania, and I'm assuming that you are, you probably only share 5 Italian vowels, or the way your language speaks, which is probably almost the borderline Russian or Indo-European sort of languages. Those vowels are I must like you've got to have something like this. So it almost sounds kind of Russian, and you close down these sounds, and we've got to open them up, right? So I'm not making fun of you. I'm just saying that's how Indo-European languages sound. So that's Czech, that's Slovakian, that's all the way across Ukraine. So what we have to do is we have to open up those sounds. So la, ah, e, o, oo, right? We get through the bel canto sounds first, and then if you're looking to sing in English, there's actually, including diphthongs, there's over 16 different vowel sounds that we share in English that are not in bel canto. So bel canto would be a great place to start, to get your breathing, if they really understand it, to get your vowels, your main bel canto vowels, but they are very close. Lo, oo, a, e, o, right? Well, we don't want to do it. We want to go la, a, e, o, oo, and we want to open up those sounds in order to be able to sing in a more contemporary style. So you can start there, and then if you can find a great teacher that sings in rock bands and you can incorporate the two, it might not be a bad idea. Hopefully that was helpful. And let's see here. Shiva. Sometimes I feel that my voice is nice, but after some time, it seems very bad. How can I make my voice stable at a melodious level? Shiva, if you could, again, post in our singer forums, go to KenTamplinVocalAcademy.com, you'll see a little at the top of the toolbar that says forums. Click on that so we can take a listen, because there's no way I can give you quality advice or responsible advice until we can hear what you sound like to know what's going on. Chances are it's a support issue, but I won't know. And or also you might be trying to sing something out of your range. So Land of Dracula again, question. How you really compress your air. You take a breath and you hold it around chest area. Well, yes and no. I do. Hey! Yeah, 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 yeah! Right, so what I'm doing is I'm compressing it here, a little bit at the, at the sphincter muscle, a little bit in the glottis, and but like I said, I've maintained good open throat technique first in order to be able to not constrict that sound, so it's not like, yeah, 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 and that sort of more on the fry side of the coin, of how a lot of people get their compression, their distortion. Okay, I'm just going to answer a couple more questions here, guys. We got Ashley. Can a bass reach G4 in a chest voice? Yeah, I'm a baritone. I'm not a bass, but absolutely a bass could reach a G4. In fact, it's cool that you bring this up. This would be fun, guys. If you get a chance, Bob, if you could post this too, go into our singing forums. I've got a guy from Australia. I just sent it in a couple days ago. He's been singing for a long time. He's definitely well in the low Barry range. And he actually is singing AC/DC songs now, doing the course. And he wrote a whole real nice article on Ken Tamplin. It's in the forums. You can check him out. He's an older guy. I think he's probably 50 or something. But the brother can sing, bass stuff, operatic bass stuff. And now he's super stoked that he can sing well into the AC/DC range, which is super awesome. I'm going to answer one more question, okay, guys? Turbo. Ken, is singing gospel a good starting point to learn how to sing from the heart? Sure, why not? I grew up on gospel music, Christian music, gospel music, so gospel's awesome. I don't know if you knew this or not, but I got a chance to produce an album called Make Me Your Voice. So I got a chance to produce Andre Crouch. I got a chance to produce a lot of big gospel artists on that record. And I love, when it comes to gospel, gospel's killer, because they have such a natural gift, a natural affinity towards singing with soul and singing from the heart. Okay, guys, thank you for joining me. God bless you guys. I'm going to let you know what next Saturday's webinar is. I haven't decided on it yet because we have a lot of people that are writing in a lot of stuff for different subject matter. But we are going to continue to do this. I'm stoked that you guys joined us. And until next time, God bless. Peace out.